Mindful. Oh, thank you, Harvey. You're ready for me to start? So first of all, I want to welcome all of you and thank you very much for attending the meeting. I'm trying to see who is all on the call. Try to go by the agenda, but we will go with who we have. I see a new face, Shalon Tucker, Mr. Roussan Francois.
Good evening.
Nice for him. Go ahead.
Yes, I say good evening.
Good evening.
I have a long presentation for you, so the more time you can give me, the better.
Oh, well, hey, we will start with you first. How about that?
Hey, thank you. Should I begin now?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Roussan Francois. I'm the Public Works Program Manager. And what I'm going to do tonight is really, this is the agenda for the meeting tonight. One thing that, first I'm going to talk about the right-of-way maintenance, and then I'm going to give you a project status of some of the projects in your district, in your area. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the monuments. Some of you may or may not be aware of what we're planning on doing within the roundabout at both Campbellton, Boat Rock, and New Hope. And the second half of the presentation it's where that, if you allow me to, I would like to spend more time, special programs, because they are getting very popular lately. And a lot of people are unaware of those programs, and your Sandtown can benefit a lot from those programs. So I would like to probably dwell here a little bit more than the other ones, because most of the projects you probably know haven't changed that much. But let's dive into the presentation. The right-of-way maintenance, which is very important. This is a way we want to make sure that we keep the city very beautiful. Currently, there are different locations. Currently on Fulton Industrial, there's about 47 miles of right-of-way. The leader pickup, the cleaning and the mowing, all these are being done by city staff, city employees. We have about 6 people. They go every day and take care of that along the right-of-way on Fulton Industrial. And that service started in March of this year. In addition to that, in other areas of your district, currently we also contracted with 3 other companies. Worldscape is doing the maintenance along Cascade Median. You probably noticed them. And that work already started in March last month. And currently they're doing it on a monthly basis. And in addition to that, our contractor Jacobs is also doing it at the same time. So the more people, the more time we can spend out there, the better it is for the area to keep it clean. In addition to that, recently last month, we also contracted with American Eagle. What they're doing, they're also doing leader pickup along Boat Rock Road, Bakersfield Road, and Camp Fulton Way. If you are not familiar with Camp Fulton Way, if you are on FIB, where the Zaxby's and McDonald's is, there's a little street that is where Taco Bell is, that is parallel with it really intersects Camp Creek, but it's really parallel with Fulton Industrial. If you drive that area, it's constantly people are dumping stuff there. So what we're doing using American Eagle, they go there every other week to pick up the trash and so on. In addition to that, we as staff, when we drive the area and we notice there is litter, we also call our contractor, which is Jacobs. They go and help also. So it's, as you can see, we have various companies driving the city, working to try to make it as clean as possible. And in terms of resurfacing, what you're looking at is the first 2/3 of the slide. Those are the roads or subdivision that were already completed, being resurfaced. Butner Road, you probably noticed, has been resurfaced and so on. The lower 1/3, and I didn't get, before I came here, I didn't get the schedule yet from the consultant when those subdivisions are going to be resurfaced. I plan to receive it tomorrow morning. If I do, I will email it to you, Deborah. If I don't, I know every Monday morning. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a presentation that you're trying to show?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't share my screen. Shame on me.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
That's all right.
Those are the 2/3 are the ones that the corridors and the subdivisions that are completed. And the lower 1/3, I didn't get the schedule yet, but no later than Monday morning, I should receive a schedule. And when I do, I will email it to you, Deborah, to let you know when the subdivisions will be resurfaced.
Okay.
In terms of capital projects, both what we call the capital improvement program and the TIS Plus, those are the projects. The first one you guys are very familiar with, which is the roundabout. It is 99.99% complete. Now the contractor is addressing some minor items. As you probably noticed, the street lights, we have about 18 of them. They all up and running. They all energized. So now the only thing, once the punch list is done and GDOT is out of there, then that's when we go in to install the monuments. And I will talk about the monuments later in the presentation. The New Hope Road sidewalks, currently the target is to certify the right of way in 2022. What does that mean? That means we require everything that we need so that we can move forward with the construction. If everything goes well as we plan, then we can let that project to construction in January of next year.
Wow.
Fairburn Road upgrade, you probably aware of that. We did about, well, it should be about 4 years ago, we did the lower half of Fairburn Road from Cascade Road going south toward to the city of Atlanta. This one will take it from Cascade going north towards Walmart and the city of Atlanta to the north. Currently, the goal is to acquire everything that we need by the end of this month, early next month. And as you probably aware of, the county there was a referendum in November for renewal of TIS Plus 2. So that TIS Plus 2 passed in November last year, and the construction funds for that project was allocated in the TIS Plus 2. In other words, the funds are there for the construction. We just have to finalize the right-of-way acquisition and go into construction. And the Denford Road sidewalks were very similar. The target is to also certify the right-of-way by later this month or early next month, and so that we can let that project to construction in the summer of this year. One project that you might not be aware of, because honestly, I wasn't aware of it until Fulton industrial area, the district fell under the city of South Fulton. Before it was under Fulton County. And at that time, the Fulton Industrial CID was managing that project. And that project is really the intersection of Cascade Road and Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Currently, we are working with GDOT. The way that project was approved and from a conceptual phase was to just do the intersection of Cascade and FIB. But when we took a close look at the intersection, we noticed that by addressing only the intersection of Cascade and FIB, we are not going to solve the problem. We have to go further north on Cascade Road at the intersection of West Park Drive. Because if you are familiar with the area, West Park Drive and FIB are very close to each other. And because of the distance, the close distance between the two intersections, you cannot solve the problem by addressing one and neglecting the other one. So you have to address both of them. And because from the conceptual phase, the project wasn't designed like that, we are currently working with GDOT to make sure that we revise the scope of the project and move forward with that project. And as far as the schedule, this is a brand new project. That project is funded by federal dollars, TISPLAS dollars, and also the CID. As I mentioned before, that project fell under the CID, Fulton Industrial. They also put some money into it. We're looking at construction in 2024. Lastly, in terms of the CIP TISPLAS project, we're looking at the Campbellton at Stone Hotel. In terms of the right-of-way acquisition, based on the latest correspondence I've received from my right-of-way personnel, all parcels are good to go except parcel number 2. And it's my understanding that at first parcel number 2 was supposed to be a donation. Now the property owner kind of changing his mind, and we're trying to negotiate. But nevertheless, we are moving forward with that project, and the construction lead date is anticipated next month to start working on that project.
Wow.
Now, the one that I mentioned inside the roundabout is the arts, the sculpture. There will be 4 of them. 2 of them, if you can visualize the roundabout, it's a 4-leg intersection. Campbellton has 2 legs and New Hope and Boat Rock. The idea is to put the one that says Sandtown community to face Campbellton Road in each directions, and the other one will go in the opposite directions. Currently, we really haven't finalized where they're going to be placed at. But I have good news for you. We received the permit from GDOT. We are good to go. In fact, before I came here, I received a letter from GDOT requesting a change in the bond, because prior to that, we had to submit a bond to GDOT, but the bond expired in March of this year. So it's just an administrative thing. They want us to revise the letter to reflect the next current year for the bond. And we plan on doing that tomorrow. And as soon as we do that, they will give us the actual, what they call it, document receipt. And this is everything that we need to get that monument installed. In terms of our schedule, as I mentioned, there's still minor things that the contractor is doing, open completion on all of that. And once we receive the letter from GDOT, we will move forward. Of course, as soon as the department receives that information, we will share it with Councilwoman Rouse's office, so that, just not only for a PR thing, but also we want to make sure that there's a pre-construction meeting so that everybody is on the same page. GDOT is there because this is the first project of this kind that we are doing with the city. So we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that all the requirements that GDOT mandate, everything is addressed so that we can move forward with this project. But as far as the monument itself, they are done, they finished, they're just sitting in the warehouse ready to be installed. Now, this is something that I know I'm moving a little fast because I don't want to take too much of your time, but this is something that I would like to spend a little time to talk to you about. And I'll be happy if you decide to invite me one more time. I'll be happy to elaborate a little bit on this. But those are programs that are getting very popular nowadays. On average, every week, the department will receive on average 2 to 5 requests. So they are really getting very popular. The first one is the Adapter Road program. Also, there's a traffic calming program. There's a no parking program. There's a street light program. And let me go to the first one, the Adapter Road program. The Adapter Road program is nothing but a beautification and a litter prevention program. The objective is to work with the citizens to try to keep their communities, the street beautiful. And in terms of who can adopt, almost every civic organization, any businesses, any church, high school can adopt. It can adopt the road. And those are the requirements, but really the second half of the requirements is the most important one. If you want to join and you want to adopt the road, we want to make sure that you do it at least 4 times a year. And whatever road that you decide to adopt, it has to be a minimum of 2 miles. So, and then the program requires that you make a 2-year commitment. And you'd be surprised how many applicants we receive on a weekly basis. People are excited, people are doing it, and it's fun. So now the thing that is highlighted in yellow is that if you, for whatever reason, you didn't really satisfactorily address all the requirements of the program, we have the liberty of removing you for the program for at least a year. And really what this one is saying is that once you decide to join the program, there are certain documents that you have to sign and release to the city. For example, one is a release of liability that tells the city that you're not holding the city reliable for anything that happened. And in fact, in other words, you're really doing it at your own risk. But don't get me wrong, we are here to help you, to give you some safety tips how to do this. But the fact is, you're really out there doing it at your own risk. And also, if you're going to use children that are below the age of 18, we do request that you give a parental consent form, that you fill it out so that we keep that in file. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a very, very popular program. We're getting requests left and right, and people are really excited with it. As far as public works, those are your responsibility as an applicant or business or organization. But as public works, our responsibility is, if you decide to join and you are approved, what we do, we put a sign out there. We put on Adopt the Road sign, which is a 24 by 30. You probably notice them on, we have a few in your district. We have it on Cascade Road, on Cascade Parkway, and on Fairburn. So we do have those signs. In addition to that, below the Adopt the Road program sign, we also put what we call a daughter sign, which is the name of your organization. We put it in there. And once you have those two things, then you're ready to go. And in addition to that, really the program really took off this year. And we didn't have, when the budget was approved last year, we didn't set aside any money in the budget. So that's why we're being very conservative in terms of what we can provide the applicants. But at the minimum, we will give you 2 boxes of gloves. We will give you 10 vests, and we'll give you some litter grabbers so that you can use. For some organization, that's more than enough because they only have 1 or 2 or 5 people. But for some organization, this might not be enough because some of them have 25, 30 people. But for now, this is the best we can do with the resources that we have. So hopefully in the budget next year, we can always put some more money in there, subject to approval. And once you do that, the day of the pickup, in fact, when you decide to have an event, you have to let us know 10 days prior of the event. And the reason why we need to know, so that we can coordinate with all because there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of people involved. We want to make sure when the event is over, and I would say most of the time people are doing them on Saturdays. And we want to make sure that first thing Monday morning, we have a crew ready to pick up the bags. Usually we ask you to look for a designated place or places to put the bags after you collect them. We don't want them to be spread all over the route. Usually people leave them at the beginning of the route or at the end of the route. And first thing Monday morning, assuming that it's a business day, is not a holiday, then we will send people out there to pick up the bags. And really what this one does, it really explains to you the process. Let's say you decide to apply for the program, you send that information to us. What we do in-house, we review it to make sure you send all the proper documentation, and also that the route that you want to adopt, we want to make sure that that route is not already adopted by somebody else. And if that's the case, then we can always suggest another route to you, or maybe you can just decide not to move forward with the request. And this one gives you an idea of some of the organizations that we have so far that have adopted, and some of them are very, very, very active. Some of them are doing it on a monthly basis. This is the name of the organizations and also the roads that they have adopted so far. And the department is very, very aggressive in terms of approving those applications. You send us the application within 48 hours, we'll do our best to review it, send it to make sure that the paperwork is correct, send it to the director for approval, and then we will order the signs to be fabricated. And once the signs are fabricated and installed, then we issue to you what we call a notice to proceed, so that you can go ahead and start working. So it's really exciting. It's fun. I'm not making any promises, but from time to time, I will join you. You know, so you know what they say, we have to live by example. So I will participate, but I'm not making any promises. But keep on sending me invites. I will do my best. And the next one that is a very important one is the traffic calming. And this is something that was a policy that was adopted by mayor and council in 2019. And really, this one tells you what the traffic calming is, which is involved the changes in street alignment, installation of barriers, and physical measures to reduce traffic speeds and also cut through volumes. And this is another program that is extremely, extremely popular. And in your district, we do receive a lot of these requests on a monthly basis. And really the process is this: once the department receive a request, what we do is that we put the package together and we send it to you. And the first step you have to do is you have to have a petition. You have to have signed petitions. And the signed petition says that in order for the department to take the next step, you need 75% of the people living on that street to be in support of it. Sometimes you'll be surprised. A lot of time there is a problem. And sometimes it is a perceived problem, because a lot of time the applicant cannot obtain those 75%. You'll be surprised how many petitions that are initiated but never completed because they cannot secure the petition. And without the 75%, there is nothing that the department can do, because this is a policy that was adopted by mayor and council, and we cannot deviate it from it. Currently the department is using the tax parcels information. Once you send that information to the department, what we do, we review it, and staff is available to help you. For example, for using some subdivisions are very small, but some subdivisions are huge. For example, we receive requests from Sandtown Center subdivision, which is a huge subdivision. So I want you to know that staff is available to help you, because if you have any idea where to collect the petitions, what to do, and so on, that's why we're here. That's your tax dollars at work. Once we do that, once we receive the 75%, and let me go to this one, for example. What we do is, once we receive the 75%, we do a study. And the study has to do two things: whether there is speed or people cutting through your subdivisions. And the first thing that we look for in the study is what they call the 85 percentile speed. This is really what it's saying is that whatever the posted speed is on that road, we want, when we do the traffic counts, if the speed that is recorded is 11 miles above what is posted, then Houston, we have a problem. That's what it says. And then therefore that you are approved to go to the next step. In terms of the what we call the cut through, we use what we call the ITE manual, which is the Institute for Transportation Engineers, based on what the traffic that your subdivision is generated. If when we do the traffic counts, the traffic is 25 above that number, also that justify the need for this, for the next step. And what this one is telling you is that, yes, if you meet those two criteria here, one or two of the criteria, therefore the traffic study is warranted. And once we do the traffic study, and the traffic study warranted, is that the next step is for the department to do what they call a conceptual plan. This is where the department gets with the traffic engineers, we get together and decide what would be the best solution for your subdivision, because it's not a one size fits all. There are different subdivisions based on the geometry of the road, the characteristics of the subdivision, so on and so forth. And this is exactly what I just explained here. Then those are the different measures. So once the traffic engineer do the traffic counts, those are the toolbox. They are different things. Although I should say most of the time you will see that there will be how you call it, speed humps and installed, so on and so forth. But it's not really up to us in the department. It's really whatever the traffic engineer says, because whatever decision that is going to come up with, it will be based on the standards that are approved and adopted by the traffic engineering society. So once we do that, once we have a conceptual plan, what does that mean? That means that we get together with a firm and they come up with 3 alternatives. This is what we believe will work in that subdivision. Once we do that, usually we also meet sometimes, or at least let the applicant know that those are the 3 alternatives that we come up with. Once we do that, the next step based on the policy is to have a public meeting to let the subdivision know, the community know, hey, yes, you have a problem. We did a traffic study. The traffic study reveals that you have a problem. And this is the 3 alternatives that we come up with. And based on the input that we receive, then we put another petition together, because we don't want to install anything that as I said, as you see here on your screen, that 90% of the property owners are not in favor of. So once we do that, everything is that petition is set again out there, and among the 3 alternatives, you guys decide, okay, we're going with alternative number 2. Once we do that, we put a package together and we send it before mayor and council for approval. You might think it's a very lengthy process, but it is a needed process, because one thing you don't want to do is that you don't want to install a device and after 3 months you have to go back and remove it because A, it doesn't work, or B, because the majority of the people were not in favor of it. All right. The other one that I would like to bring your attention to is what we call the no parking rules. We do receive a lot of requests from subdivisions and homeowners associations about people parking illegally in the subdivision or at the entrance of the subdivision. Last year, around almost a year ago, mayor and council approved that process. And that process is pretty straightforward. And what it says is that if the street is less than 21 feet wide, they don't allow people to park on any side of the street. If it is larger, if it is over 30 feet, then people can park on both sides of the street. But if it is between 20 and 29 feet, there is a process in place. And this is the process. The neighborhood homeowners association and consultant and consultation with the council district member, the two of them have to work together. That's the requirement of the ordinance, that they have to put a request to have some no parking initiative done into the subdivision. Really, this is the process. But the process is, I want everybody to be clear. Once you receive the application is not to be mailed to Public Works. A lot of organizations have done that mistake. They send it to us. That by requirement, it has to be done it has to be sent to the fire marshal. And this is what the application looks like. Hopefully you can see it on your screen. What you're looking at is really, this is a diagram that shows you, that tells the city staff where do you want the no parking things to be implemented. This is a schematic diagram. And also you have to give a need and justification. Why do you think there's a problem there? But the third one is very important. And the third one is, you have the cost really relies on the homeowners association. So therefore, you really have to show the department if you have the ability to pay for it. And there are two types of measures. As you can see on number 4, and I'll be happy to send that to Deborah. Deborah, you can share it with online with your community, is that sometimes you want us to just paint the curb red to show, okay, I don't want no parking. You just wanted to paint the curb, or you want signs to be installed either at the entrance of the subdivision or at specific location within your subdivision. So in number 4, you have to be clear. And there is a correlation between number 4 and the schematic diagram. So the two of them talk with each other. So once you do that, you tell us where do you think you need that information. And once you do that, the application has to come from your homeowners association, and the ordinance requires that 3 members sign that application. And if you don't have a homeowners association, 60% of the people over the age of 18 have to sign it and send it to, as you can see, the yellow highlighted box. That information has to be sent to the fire marshal. The fire marshal will review it, will make a determination, and based on that, based on the recommendation, the Department of Public Works will act accordingly. And I'm sorry, I know it's a lot of information, but again, I will be happy to come back and share that information in more details, because those programs are very popular, and I don't get a chance to go out and sell the product. So this is what I'm doing now. But if you want more information in the future, we'll be happy to come back and do that. The last thing is, I want you to be aware of, there is a streetlight program going on. There is currently a streetlight master plan that study started about a year ago. And the idea is, the department would like to have a good understanding of where all the traffic lights are, where the needs are, and to come up with a financial plan to pay for existing in the future. Because what happened is that on a monthly, on a daily basis, we receive requests for lights. It could be for illegal dumping reasons. It could be because the road is dark, pedestrian safety, vehicular safety. So there's a realm of reasons why. Currently, as I mentioned, the existing condition and the need assessment has been completed. Currently, the consultant is working on the preliminary recommendation. Some of you are stakeholders. There will be a stakeholder meeting forthcoming probably at the end of this month or early next month. And I will encourage you to participate. And once we have the stakeholder meeting, the next step, we have a general public meeting. And this is it, because this is the final recommendation. This is where you get a chance to voice your concern, where you think that the lights are needed. And in addition to where the lights are needed, the technology, whether it's LED. Nowadays, everything is that we do is LED technology. And lastly, everything looks good, but at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for it. And one thing that the study will do is to make a recommendation before mayor and council on how to pay for this thing. In addition to that, and how also a set of policies that will be in place, not only for existing light, but whenever there's a new subdivisions, how the new subdivisions should handle the lights and so on. And finally, as part of this thing, what we're also looking at is a new technology, solar technology, how we can use the sun to energize some of those street lights at key location. It is probably not feasible to do it on major corridors, but there could be specific corridors like parks and community centers. Can we use solar technology to energize the street lights? So as I said, some of you are stakeholders. You will get an invite from the department very soon. If not, there will be a public meeting. And when there is a public meeting, it will be posted on our website and on social media. I strongly encourage you to participate. And also your council district commissioner will have access to that information. And I'm sure that information will be shared among all of you. Thank you. This is the end of the presentation.
Well, thank you so much. It looks like Ms. Denson has a question.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Francois, my question is this. It seems like when you were discussing the speed, because that's one of my pet peeves, is people come down Vanderbilt Road like they're on the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we don't live in a subdivision. So and you mentioned a study being done, if I think if I got it correctly, if the speed is like 11, what is it? Miles an hour over, I guess, the posted speed.
Yeah, right here.
So how have you addressed my concern about Vanderbilt Road? Because community knows I have been complaining about that since forever. There's traffic from the buses going over to Westlake High School, the students driving, the parents driving, and folks coming from the subdivision near where the golf course is, and all the subdivisions over on Union Road. Vanderbilt Road is a cut through getting to Camp Creek Parkway. And sometimes the cars are coming, it appears as if they're coming 60 or 70 miles an hour. It's terrible. But yet in your presentation, it seems to be targeted to subdivisions. Well,
Yes.
I've been out here since 1975. So of course, at that time we had neighborhood schools, but I want to know, what can you do to address my concerns about this speeding on Vanderbilt Road?
And ma'am, as I mentioned, as you can see on the screen, this is a neighborhood traffic calming program. And this is really on roads that are 30 miles an hour or less. Now, every road that is outside of a subdivision, what you need to do is send that information to us, and we will evaluate that road on a case-by-case basis. If there is a problem, we will also do a study on that road, but that really doesn't really fall within that program, because this one is a neighborhood program. But on any road that you think there is a problem, and throughout the city, we from time to time receive the request. So what I'm suggesting is, if you want to use Sickly Fix, you can put that information in Sickly Fix, and that information will come to us, and we will evaluate
repeat that.
and
Send
we
it.
will make a recommendation.
Wait, how do I send it again?
Sickly Fix, which is on the city website, or you can send it to our department. Now, if you go, if I think you can, there's a phone number also you can call. I don't have that number with me, but I can send it to Deborah tomorrow morning. You can call that number and tell them exactly the road that you have in mind, and that information will come to us, and we will evaluate it, make a recommendation, and reach out to you on the best way to proceed.
Thank you.
My pleasure, ma'am.
Francois, you were saying CSEE, click, CLICK, fix, FIX.
Yes, see, click, fix.
Okay, which is on the website.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it looks like in the chat, they shared it. Councilman Rouse shared it.
Okay, yes.
Fix. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Francois?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Actually, I have like 3 short questions.
Sure.
Number 1 is Reynolds Roads. What is the possibilities of a sidewalk for Reynolds Road? The next question is there any cost to road adoption? And
No,
the
sir,
third-
it's free,
okay.
free of charge.
All right, so free. And then the third question is, what if the road is less than 2 miles? I'm thinking about Reynolds Roads here. And Reynolds Roads to the end is about 1.9, less than 2 miles. What if?
And really what the department has done is we were able to consolidate. If we can give you more than one location, in your case, if for example, the corridor is 1.9, I don't think it's a big deal. It's about 1/10 of a mile. So we can treat that as 2 miles. But in addition to that, if you want to adopt another corridor, we can combine the two. The only problem with that is the cost associated with more than one location, because we have to fabricate the signs. But besides that, you can adopt as many locations as possible. We can combine it. Now, in regard to your first question, I will have to get back to you, because last year, around October of last year, the city of South Fulton completed a comprehensive transportation plan. And I cannot recall whether Reynolds Road was on one of the roads that needed sidewalks, because the consultant did an evaluation of all the corridors. And I cannot recall if that's the case, because we want to make sure there's enough foot traffic to justify the need of the sidewalk. Sometimes, as I said before, it's a perception that the sidewalk is needed. But most of the time, if it's not for safety reason, pedestrian and foot traffic, because there has to be traffic generators to justify that. As I said, I'm not sure that I remember what was in the plan, but I will shoot an email to Deborah tomorrow to let you know. But if not, let's assume for a minute it's not in the plan. We will take a look at it and make a decision.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Anybody else have questions? Oh, I see another one. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Gloria. The space between Reynolds Road and Camp Creek has been adopted. It was adopted years ago by the day center. And if my question is, if the person who adopts the road does not participate in cleaning the road or doing anything for the road, then what happens? Because I have approached the daycare center and they have not really responded. So what do? You just leave the sign up there?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there is a misconception among a lot of people that the city, the way the program is adopted in the city didn't grandfather anything that was adopted by Fulton County. If by that time Fulton County adopted those roads, when the mayor and council adopted that ordinance, they didn't roll over. So people have to start all over to apply. I've received a lot of requests or concern or issues from people telling me, but we had this in 2011. 20. And that's the first thing. Number two, when we reach out to Fulton County, some of the data, they don't even have it. So there's no way for us to even justify this. So I strongly encourage you to, I don't want to say reapply because you haven't applied yet, but I strongly encourage you to apply, because if you didn't apply through the city of South Fulton, you did through Fulton County back then, we cannot honor everything that Fulton County did. It's a brand new process with brand new requirements. So that's why we're moving forward this way.
Okay, I think you misunderstood. I did not apply. The daycare center applied, but they have not followed through with adopting the road. So their sign is up there saying we adopted, but they haven't done anything at all for the so do you take the sign down or what?
But ma'am, to the best of my knowledge, they haven't applied through the city, because this is the list. Let me see if I can share that with you on the screen again. But the thing is that, let me see if I can. Let me share my screen real quick. They are not one of the ones that I don't know what. You see, those are the organizations that have applied and registered. So as you can see, the daycare, there's no daycare on that list. I'm not aware of any application submitted by the daycare. So they must have done it under Fulton County.
Yeah, sounds like they must have done it under Fulton County, Ms. Griffin.
And because because that's the case, then we cannot just grandfather. They have to reapply like everybody else.
Did that answer your question?
No, but that's okay. I understand what you're saying. The thing about it is that they can get free advertisement and still not do the work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Now, at the beginning of the presentation of this section, remember what I said is that you are required to do it 4 times a year. And what the department will do from the day we give you the notice to proceed, a year later, we're going to look at your records and see if you have met the requirements. So most of the notices to proceed were issued in early this year. So by October, November of this year, the department will start looking at all the applications to ensure that all the requirements are met. If the requirements are not met, then they will be kicked out of the program for at least a year. All right, any more questions? I'm sorry I took so much time, but I wanted to share that information with you all.
It looks like Marilyn Lee has one.
I don't know if it's a question, but my neighbors for years, it's 2 of them, Mr. Blackman and somebody else, have been picking up trash on rentals for I don't know how long.
Amen.
Would they have to, I mean, and this is just a voluntary thing that they do, because there was a time when we hardly had anything out there, and now I guess with more people moving in, people just throw trash out the window all up there all the time. And this is one of the things we never had. But every week he, and I can't think of the other guy's name, every week they are out there in that truck and they got the little stuff and they always picking up trash. So would they necessarily need to let you all know they do this, or is this just something that they can keep doing like they've been doing? Because I don't think it's a bad thing, and they're very cautious. They have the lights on, they take their time. They usually do it early in the morning. Sometimes it's early Saturday morning, sometimes it's early Sunday morning, but they're out there every week.
May I suggest that you send me their information? We do have somebody in charge of the program. I will put that person in touch with them, and they will work out the details, because currently I don't know whether Reynolds Road is on the list. So that person who is in charge of the program will be able to work something out with them.
Okay, I'll see if I'll talk with him first and tell him Okay.
Because we do have somebody in-house in charge of the whole program. So I don't want to speak for him, but I will mention it to him in the morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
See,
Thank
Ms.
you,
Griffin.
everyone.
Ms. Griffin, you got your hand still up?
Oh, okay. So
Sorry, I didn't know I had it up. I apologize.
That's okay, but what I wanted to share with you, several people have put in the chat that cclickfix.com, if you would go South Fulton, go on South Fulton, the city of South Fulton's website and put in a request. It sounds like the sign needs to be removed at the daycare. So you might need to put in a request to have that sign removed since they are not part of the program.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Mr. Francois. That was wonderful. I will add you on the when I send out the meeting notice to the team and put you on there, and you have an open invitation
thank you,
to
ma'am.
meetings. Whenever you want to share something with the community, just send me an email and I'll put you on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll go with the police reports and the fire reports, and then Ms. Francesca Warren, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Then we'll go with Fulton County Schools, Ms. Francesca Warren.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Captain Blaylock. Is that you?
How you doing? Yeah, hear me just fine?
Hey. Yeah.
All right, I'm Sergeant Blaylock with the Community Service Unit with the City of South Fulton Police Department. I'm gonna be quite brief, and if y'all see that beeping noise, excuse me, my cat is up because I was currently on the call. So for report in District 1, where in the Sandtown community, as we know, we're trying to beef up patrols in the area. We encourage, I know y'all just mentioned C-Clicks Fix. We encourage everyone to utilize that C-Clicks Fix because now we have a designated person to answer all those calls. Once she gets those response, she dishes them out to our unit, and our unit will go out and address those issues accordingly, and we'll send a response back to her in a timely fashion. So I do encourage everyone, if you have a complaint or anything like that, to use C-Click Fix, and we'll address your issues as soon as possible. For the crime rate in the Cascade area, of course, larceny is still going up in the area of Walmart. We're still working with Walmart security personnel to kind of address the issue, to try to see how can we limit the thefts that's coming on at the location. Last weekend, we conducted the detail in the Cascade business corridor with dealing with the day laborers that kind of causes, crime to go up in that area. We was able to make multiple arrests in that operation. We had an incident that actually happened a couple of days ago. Well, actually yesterday, though, with the Publix community over there to Sandtown. I utilized what Mr. Dotson was talking about. Some of the stuff he was mentioning was talking about SEPTED. And SEPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And one of the things that he was talking about is traffic calming for us, adding speed bumps and putting up signage and things of that nature. But so with the incident that happened over there at the AT&T store by the Publix in the Sandtown community, it was a robbery going on, but it's actually an ongoing investigation. But one of the things they implemented is by adding more cameras and actually added an on-guard security at this time. So right now, because before they didn't have a security guard, but now they do. So that's part of one of the crime prevention through environmental designs that, we talk about. What else? Pretty much everything else, we're still dealing with the tractor trailers over there in the Cascade community. I'm working with traffic to minimize that issue. I understand. I forgot the miss that was online. He had a question over there about Vandiver Road, about the speeding through that area. Well, I'm gonna get with traffic on that. I hear her complaint, so I will pass that over to traffic, and so we can set up a detail during the hours when they let out of school, so we can kind of monitor that area. Also try to get Public Works involved so they can do a study over there to add speed tables. The correct term is speed table. Most people say speed bumps, but the correct terms are speed tables over there in that area to kind of get drivers to slow down as they pass through. Other than that, that's pretty much about it. I'm sorry I didn't have a presentation ready. I understand Chief Meadows was supposed to be on here, but he had an urgent matter to take care of, so I kind of had to step in his place.
Well, We appreciate that information and sharing the crime stats. Does anyone have any questions for Sergeant Blaylock?
Good afternoon. My name is Juanita. I live on Boat Rock Road, and I would like to add my street on the list of duties that you intend to investigate. I have gone on See, Click, and Fix pretty much weekly to post the need to stop the tractor trailers on my street. I've gone as far as taking pictures. I text the chief. I email my district leadership. I do all of that trying to get some help. So if you're going to engage some extra effort, would you please add Boat Rock Road on your list?
Yes, ma'am, I will. Again, let me just explain something to you guys with the C-Clip Fix. At first, we had somebody that was actually monitoring it on our end, but we had to make some personnel changes. So now we have a designated person. So that way it's more organized and structured now. So if you do put it on the list, you have to go in there and fill it out yourself. We will address it accordingly once we receive it. I think when the new person took over the C-Clip Fix, we had over 300 some complaints. Now we're down to at least 150 that we addressed it already. So we're making progress. It's a slow process, but we're making progress to try to address all the complaints that we're receiving on the website. On our end, especially. No problem.
Ms. Benson, I see your hand. Ivory, you on mute? Ivory, you're on mute. Will you come back to us?
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a question.
Yes.
The policeman making the report mentioned that Chief Meadows, for whatever reason, couldn't come on. It seems to me, this is happening with regularity. I'm just wondering if there are certain communities that he has an appearance and some he boycotts.
No, ma'am, that is not the case at all. As you know, Chief he wears many hats, and he also has different tasks that he has going on. Some appearances he can make, but some he can't. So it's not him rejecting the I guess this community meeting. It's just he had something that was precedent that took over, you know what I'm saying? That's something that dealing with the department. You know, it's not he's neglecting you guys. He's not doing that. Trust me, he's not. Chief is actually a very busy man, and he's fighting hard to, you know, keep us afloat and actually, you know what I'm saying, he's setting the right image without a department.
Well, I don't know. I guess I haven't had the most positive experience as it relates to him. And I was just wondering if our community was being, you know, neglected, boycotted or whatever.
Oh, and no, ma'am. And one of the things that we have in the special service unit, we implemented the MyCop program. And the MyCop program, it utilized each officer is assigned to a district. Of course, we have 7 districts in the city of South Fulton, right? So I'm assigned to District 1. You know, we have a couple officers assigned to District 2, District 3, District 4. So we got this MyCop program. If you have a concern or anything or something that's going on in your district that's crime related or not a non-emergency, you can actually utilize that app and, you know, put your concerns on there, or you can give us a call because our email and phone number are on there, and we can address the issue to you directly. So that's one of we trying to come up with multiple ways to I guess to reach out to you guys to actually, you know, try to be more connected with the community, because I understand policing is a tough job. A lot of stuff goes on that the public don't really get a chance to see, but you know, stuff has to be done accordingly. So that's one of the options that we utilize for you guys with citizens to reach out to the community, and we can have a first line with the chief once we have time to sit down with them.
Sergeant Blaylock,
Yes.
is in District 2. So tell me who is the police director?
That will be Corporal Neesmith. Corporal Neesmith. That's Neesmith. Neesmith.
Neesmith.
Yes.
Neesmith. Ivory, did you get that information? Okay, I got it. I'll share.
Okay. Yeah. But I don't any means, I don't want you to think Chief is neglecting this meeting. He just has something, a precedent that's going on right now. I'm pretty sure the next time y'all have a meeting, he will be on and he'll explain more in depth of what we got going on for versus to on upper management level.
Okay. Linda, you have your hand up?
Yes, good evening. Hi, Debbie.
Hello.
Hi, Officer Blaylock. I have a question. You know those real-time cameras you have on the telephone poles?
It all
Those-
depends. Certain
think-
cameras, because certain cameras that we have on telephone poles are part of certain investigations, so I can't disclose those.
Okay, well, I'm wondering, how can we get some in our community? I would like one in particularly at the corner of Dove Road and Campbellton Road.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of activity from a house adjacent from Dove Road. I mean, nonstop all day long, all kinds of delivery trucks coming and going. And I think if a camera was placed in that vicinity, it would really slow down the traffic that's going on all day, all night in the wee morning hours.
Okay. All right. That should be no problem. What I can do is take that information. You said Dove Road?
Yes, Dove Road and Campbellton.
Dove Road and Campbellton. I'm just saying Campbellton.
Yep.
Okay, so I will pass this information on to our narcotics division investigators. So they will be more prompt actually putting the camera out there in that area so they can monitor the activity. So we can go ahead and address the issue for obtaining a search warrant for that location to see if any legal activity is going on. Because as you know, to obtain a search warrant, it's a process that you have to go through. You can't just walk up in there, because they're violating people's Fourth Amendment rights. Also, too, if you live in a subdivision, you think people speeding or whatever, they got a camera system called the flock camera system. And what the flock camera system does, it's a kind of a tag reader. So if somebody's wanted for anything or a vehicle is stolen, this system will actually pick up on that tag and it sends an alert to our emails, whoever signed up with the flock camera system, and let us know that, hey, this car is seen in this area at this particular time. So that give us time enough to kind of like track our area and go over to that location and kind of set up to see if there's a pattern being established. Okay, if this car was stolen, how many times have they hit this camera over here? So we can go ahead and set up a detail or have a unit in the area to attempt to catch that car. But it's called flock camera. And
Flock camera. Okay.
FLOCK, flock camera system. So once you look on the website, it kind of gives you step-by-step instructions on what you should do and how you should sign up for it. I think from my understanding, one of my captains said, I think it's like $2,500 a year, I believe. But that's something you and your HOA committee that need to come up with, how you're going to distribute the funds for running the system in you guys' area. That's how that works.
Okay, I'm looking it up now. All right. I have seen those around.
Yes, you're gonna see a lot more of those around in the city because, as you know, Chief always mentioned about we're going to the 21st century policing using more technology, which is actually helping us catch more criminals. Because nowadays criminals are trying to get smarter, and which some of them have, but we have to stay on top of that and outsmart them with the technology they're trying to use to commit crime. So we just kind of combat that and come up with different ways to kind of help, fight crime, and especially in Atlanta, everybody's scamming and everything like that. So we doing all we can to, help keep the community safe and moving forward.
Okay, that's a really good tip right there. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Sergeant Blaylock, for attending, and we will continue to invite you all, and we welcome everybody that can attend and give us an update on the crime and the good and the bad.
Yes.
In our community. There are some good things that are happening as well.
Okay, before I go, I want to promote our National Night Out. Yeah, you guys do not forget, National Night Out is August 2nd of this year. It's gonna be like an outdoor festival / carnival where we're gonna have live music, entertainment. We're gonna interact with the South Fulton Police Department, Fulton County Police Department, and the Sheriff's Office. And so bring your friends, family, kids. Everybody should come out and support the event. Or actually, it's for the community. So
when you say bring them out where?
I'm sorry. It's going to be at the LA Fitness on Old National Highway. Give me 2 seconds. Let me get you the exact address. Hold on. The LA Fitness on Old National. It is. It is okay. 6385 Old National Highway. That's where it's going to be, in that plaza.
Okay. All righty.
All right.
And thank you for coming and thank you for sharing that information. A
Yes.
lot of good information being shared tonight by everyone. And with that, we will ask Ms. Francesca Warren to tell us about the schools and any capital improvements and what's going on with Fulton County.
Thank you. So as you guys know, this is our spring break. And so while families are enjoying their time with their kids in the school system, I've talked about this all year as we have transitioned back to face-to-face learning. Our students are struggling. Our students and our parents are struggling with being back in school. But before I start that, I want to let everyone know we are in the midst of enrollment projections for next year. And so I get a lot of calls from people who talk about how our schools are overcrowded and what is Fulton County Schools doing about it. And so I wanted to share with you briefly our enrollment projection. If you came to my community meeting last month and this month, I'm sorry. Last month in March and in December, we had Ingrid Huff from Fulton County Schools come and talk about some of the things that are happening. One of the things that we know is that we are seeing a decline in enrollment in Fulton County schools. And this is indicative of schools across the nation. What we're finding is that the kindergarten cohort is smaller than the high school cohort. So it's not so much as many kids are not enrolling, it's just people are having less children and it's impacting the smallest classes that we have, which would be our kindergarten classes. And so as we look at this and as we talk about this, we can see that looking at South Fulton, zones 1, 2, and 3, we have a virtual district, Sandy Springs district, and a North Fulton district. We have on average, looking at our South Fulton, about 33,000 students. Please know that these are kids where they're currently enrolled. Some of this data would be skewed because we have students in South Fulton who attend schools up in North Fulton. So keep that in mind as we talk about this. I'm going to hit some of the most pressing points, and I'm going to go into, I'm going to hit this one first. Right now in the private school trends, we always hear people who will say, we have a lot of kids in private school. In South Fulton combined, we have less than 1,000 kids in elementary, middle, and high school. Our highest area that has kids enrolled in, in private schools will be a toss-up between Sandy Springs and North Fulton. We do send money to the private schools despite them having our kids. So that's just something that we want people to know and want people to see. From the last enrollment, and I'm going to go strictly to South Fulton. Actually, I want to go to the house closing, the housing trends. Right now, we are seeing a huge amount of growth in the housing trends in South Fulton, basically meaning we are closing on almost double the amount of homes in a quarter than anywhere in Fulton County. And what that is doing, this is just a very high level look of some of the housing trends on the new subdivisions that are coming into Zone 3, Zone 1, and Zone 2. One of the things that I always tell people have asked me, how do we take into account how kids are moving in? Whenever someone files a permit, we get that information. And based on that data, this is how we know where the hotbeds of development is going to happen. Right now, we have a hotbed of development in Zone 3, but we also have a hotbed of development down in Fairburn, Chattahoochee Hills, Palmetto. And so what we're seeing down there is a shift in student populations. So this is really, really important because, as Ms. Huff said when she came to us, we are in the process right now at Westlake High School, because we have so many students there, and that re-verifying that many of our students who go there do not necessarily live there. So we have started to re-verify. This is something that we usually do year to year, but for schools like Westlake, which is the largest high school in Fulton County, we have started this second semester re-verifying kids in anticipation for the fall. We are doing that for twofold, so that we can identify kids who no longer live in zone, but have continued to go to school at Westlake, and we can send them back to their home school. And it will also help us clear up some space. We are on average, we believe, just from data, that we probably have about 500 kids who are not supposed to be there. And so you might have heard people starting to talk about why they have to re-verify if they attend there. But we are doing that first because we are going to take up the topic of rezoning in the fall. So before we rezone, we want to make sure that we have given precedent to the homeowners who live in the community to make sure that they can go there. Another hotbed of area is down in the Fairburn area, Chattahoochee, Palmetto area. And we are looking at some solutions further south at Palmetto Elementary School to ease the overcrowding at Bear Creek, which had an extra 200 students down there. A lot of people will ask me, Sandtown Middle School has about 1,100 kids, but some of our elementary schools are not enrolled to their capacity. So if we look at A. Philip Randolph, they have about 400 kids, 400 plus or minus. I don't want to give an exact number, but they should theoretically have about 700 to 800 kids. So as kids are re-enrolling, as kids are coming back, these are some of the trends that we're looking at. One of the things that we have noticed in this trend for re-enrollment is that as we are looking at population shifts, we are noticing that our middle schools are becoming more and more crowded. And so that is one of the reasons that we are pushing to rezone. We have middle schools that have numbers as small as 400, and we have middle schools as big as 1,200, with Renaissance, Sandtown, and Bear Creek being our largest, and with Camp Creek Middle School being one of our smallest. So please look in the fall. The rezoning will be a community effort. So we will go through that and we will start to have conversations about what it looks like. My biggest goal is that children should go to school closest to where they live. And we shouldn't be busing kids across the zones, especially in light of there's no longer an achievement zone. And so we had kids as far away as, for example, at Langston Hughes, we have kids as far away at the end of Old National going to Langston Hughes when it's closer to them to go to Banneker. So these are just things that as we alleviate pressure off of some of our clusters, it will definitely be the talk of the community for next year. In addition, one of the things that we are seeing is that in South Fulton, our enrollment is going to be relatively stable. We have the closure of Hapeville Charter Middle School, and that has included increased our enrollment in some of our other middle schools, but also just the new housing growth. I get calls all the time from people wanting to know, why don't we build another middle school, high school? We built Global Impact, and while they only had 300 kids this year, they are doubling in their size next year. And so we have to stable out the zones before we start to talk about building new schools. And I want to give you guys an important piece, and this is something for those who fought for Westlake High School kind of know this, is that in order for we get money from, the penny tax to build schools, but we also get money from the state of Georgia. So before we can rebuild a school, we would have SPLOST money, but we would also get money from the state. And that money from the state, when we close that school to rebuild or we tear it down, we can no longer open that school. So people will come and say, well, why don't you use the old Westlake to relieve overcrowding at Westlake? Our belief is that the overcrowding at Westlake is from people not in the community attending there, and are not in the magnet program. And so once we clean up those records and we put those kids back at the schools that they're zoned to attend, that will ease overcrowding. It will also ease overcrowding when we start to look at how we are rezoning and moving some kids closer to their homes, opposed to them moving across the district. And then from that point, we are looking at to build another South Fulton Elementary School in some of the hotbed areas. One of the things that I have cautioned people about the old Westlake building is that is one of the only pieces, even though we can't use it for kids to come back in, if we ever needed it for operational services out of South Fulton, because South Learning Center is so small, that is an option to put adults in the building, but we would have to basically make it livable again because it's not, it has asbestos. And so right now, the only thing that's happening in it are movie companies are using it for them to shoot movies out of. Which brings me to my next point. Actually, before I go to that, I'm just going to look at what you guys see, the forecasted enrollment. So if you look at going up to year 2026 to 2027, we estimate about 86,000. And right now for the 2022-2023, we have about 89,450. That's anticipated enrollment. Remember, this is just anticipated. And please know that even though it says 32,000 kids in South Fulton, plus or minus, we have lots of kids from South Fulton who are in the Sandy Springs zone who go to school up there. So our numbers are a little bit skewed. I suspect, and Ms. Huff is getting me the numbers on it, but if we looked at kids and where they are zoned to go, that number in Sandy Springs would shrink significantly, and that number in South Fulton would go up tremendously. This brings me to my next point about Westlake High School. We've had lots of questions around how are we going to account for not only the growth, but the safety of our students? As you guys know, there was an incident right before spring break with a kid brought a weapon to school. I've gotten lots of calls from the community about what's going to happen. Nothing happened to the children. And it's something that I wanted to make sure that I said very clearly is that this school year, we have seen an immense amount of behavior from not only students, but also from parents. And one of the things that our high school, middle school principals are really good about is that if it is a tier 3 offense, that means a weapon, that means a group fight, that means something that the kids, depending on the age, are given a 10-day suspension. And if they are of age, they are charged. And they're always charged in a weapon and an assault. But one of the things that I've had to talk to parents about is that a lot of the behavior that we're seeing from our children are a direct result of some of the things that we do. There was an incident at Westlake where a parent was in the car rider line and got into it with another student, and they went to the Publix at Sandtown Crossing to have an altercation. And so what we try to tell our parents is that we give punishment and we are swift in what we do and we investigate, but a lot of the behavior that we are seeing is being compounded by adult behavior and about the rise in social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, in which kids are doing things that they have no business doing, especially around the sense of bullying. One of the things that we continually get calls about, I just got a call about right before spring break, was around bullying in our schools. If I give you Sandtown Middle School for an example, we have 3 counselors who all day spend their time mediating situations with students, bringing students together, mediating with them, conflict resolution. And we still unfortunately have scholars, some of our scholars, who will make bad decisions. And so Ms. Miley and her team are forced to deal with them. But I want to also say that despite some of the things that we're seeing with student behavior, that's a very small population to the kids who are actually doing very, very well. If you look at Westlake High School, you see that we have students getting millions of dollars in scholarships, doing great programs. Sandtown just went to the State and Technology Student Association. But I did want to speak about the behavior concerns that we're seeing and what we do. Lots of people from the community will ask or will have the assumption, you know, the school doesn't do anything to them. And we explain it like this, that we cannot talk about a student's behavior and what specifically happens to a specific student. But there are certain things that we charge students for, and we give them 10 days out, and they're automatically expelled from the school. The problem that we're seeing is that for some of our scholars, they're making bad decisions, and they are torn between listening to adults in their home who are telling them to do certain things, and the school, which are saying these things are not acceptable. I was just at A. Philip Randolph right before the break, and one of the administrators shared with me that, you know, they always bring their kids in who are having conflict resolution and talk them through. And they've seen an uptick this year of parents telling kids to go to school and fight. And so kids are really torn. So every time that I talk to the community, I just remind them that, you know, our schools are places for learning, and we really and truly need everybody to make sure that if your child is having a problem, reaching out to reaching out to the school for the counselors to address it, but also not encouraging kids to go to school and to be violent or to fight because it doesn't help anyone. Just in February, we had a bullying summit, and we had some of our people from Fulton County. We had students from Westlake, from Langston, and they talked about bullying. And I will share the video. Mr. Davis, if he's on here, I don't know if he can drop the link to the video, but what the kids said was eye-opening, because one of the things they talked about was just all the supports they get, but some of the kids, it's just not enough. So I know I've said a mouthful, and I know people will have questions and or concerns. So I'm going to stop talking for just a minute for you guys, if you have any questions for me.
Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Warren?
I do, Debbie. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, go right ahead.
I think I heard her say, first of all, thank you for your wonderful presentation, Ms. Warren.
Yes, ma'am.
It was very informative. You mentioned, I believe, something about Fulton County sending money to private schools.
Yes,
how
ma'am.
does that work, and who is eligible? Is it for special needs, or is it? Well, just explain it, please.
Yes, ma'am. We send money through ARP. And so we got ARP money, and we got millions of dollars. And so we have been mandated by our state to send a set amount to the private schools and the charter schools. I can't give you the exact numbers, but I know that it is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we send. And usually it goes from smaller to larger private schools. And all of our charter schools that are Fulton County charter schools, they get funds from us also. And it can go for them to increase instruction, just all kinds of different things. I'm not really clear on what they use it for, but we're mandated by our state to give it to them.
So would that include schools such as Woodward Academy or Westminster or Lovett?
Yes, ma'am, it does. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And is that because some of our students in our area goes to these schools?
Yes, ma'am. They go to our schools, and we are to give them the funds they would have gotten if our kids were with us. So we do give them money. And what I can do is reach out once everybody's back from spring break is to get that number, but we review it often. One of the issues that we see is that we can request information from our private schools, but they're not obligated to give it to us. So sometimes I'll ask, well, how many kids from South Fulton go to Woodward, or how many kids from South Fulton go to Westminster? And so they're not required to give it to us, but we can definitely ask, and I can give you what we have.
So am I still on, Debbie?
Yes.
Ms. Warren, what are you able to give us the average amount? Because I'm thinking about a relative who is spending about $35,000 a year to get the son. This is last year at one of the private schools. But what is the average amount that is given, if there's such a figure?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know off the top of my head, but if you send me an email, I'll put my email in the chat. I will get it for you. I'll forward it to a staff member to get it for you. Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm not clear what they use the money on. I don't know if they use it for scholarships, but we do provide them with funds.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, this is James Pierce.
Yes,
Got a quick question. Is the amount of money given to the private schools based on the number of schools from our community that attend those schools?
It's a set amount. I don't even think it's really based upon how many kids, but it is a amount given to help cover the education that they are receiving. So for example, I looked at one of our private schools and it was like $30,000. I don't know if there's 10 kids, because remember, they're not required to give us information if they have our students. But so we don't know if it's 10 students, 20 students, but we are required to give it to them.
Okay, and the reason I asked the question is just trying to make sure that were we giving, it's not that we got a choice because it's mandated by the state, but it'd be interesting if we gave a ton of money to a private school that only had 1 or 2 of our kids from the community there.
Absolutely. And it's something that I've asked questions about, even the ARP money. So we received about hundreds of millions of dollars in ARP money. We have been using it to transform reading. So to work on reading instruction in the district. We have been using it to hire extra campus security associates. We have been using it to give teachers pay increases. We've been using it for a variety of things. We actually have a website which tells us by the dollar amount of what we give it to. And so they were also given some of that money also. So whenever we get that state money, we give some to them. And that's not even factoring in before we get our money from the state. We also pay into local fair share, which is a little bit more complicated, but basically what it means is that the higher property taxes that you have, in a county like Fulton, we're pretty high compared to rural districts. So we give money, we have to give a certain amount out into QBE to be spread out among rural districts. And so we are in the middle of budget season. And so what I can do, we have our budget hearings in this month. And what I can do is I can make sure Mr. Harvey has it and you guys see it, because we are giving hundreds of millions of dollars to other, it is being put into a pot for rural school districts and there is no cap. So one of the things about being in a school district, a school system and a county where property taxes are much higher than some of the rural, that's one of the things that we have to do. So it takes away money and that's something from the state that we have to do. But the ARP, somebody asked that in the chat, that's the American Rescue Plan. So that's money that was given under former President Trump and current President Biden for getting schools back open after COVID and during COVID. So we got millions upon millions of dollars. So this year alone, we've given the teachers one raise, but they also next week, they're going to hear about another raise that we're giving them. And so we really have been trying to put that money in strategic places because we don't believe that we'll get another big chunk of money like we've gotten from there. But what I can do is to put the link in here so that you guys can see it, because I think it's really important for people to see where we get that money and where that money goes to. And also every week, we also have, every board meeting, we have reports out about the money and how it's going. So for example, we've had a very robust summer school for the last 2 years in which anyone can go. And we spent a lot of money. It was our biggest summer school to date, just making sure that the kids had everything they need. We paid the teachers well. So these are the type of things that the money goes to.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Linda, you have your hand up? Linda, you on mute?
Okay, I had to get back to it. Hi, I'm Francesca. So I had my son in Riverside Military Academy years ago. And what I understood about that money you get, it was money that you got for taking your kid from public school and putting them into private school. And what was interesting was that the check was actually made out in my name. And the school got it, I think. Wait, no, I can't remember how I got the check, but it was made out in my name for $4,000. And then I had to sign it over to the school. And I got to thinking, I really think that check was for the parent because there was a lot of, cost associated to taking your kid out of public and putting them into private. So I received $4,000. I don't know if that's the average, but that's what I got years ago. That was around 2014. And I personally think that I could have just cashed that check for my expenses because even while he was in there, I was paying almost $600-700 on top of it. So I don't know. I don't think it's very clear where the money goes. That's another thing. I don't know where the money went to. I would have to look back at the invoices, but I don't recall it being adjusted. So I think there's a lot of, I think it should be reviewed a little bit more.
Absolutely. And one of the things at the private schools that I encourage all the parents is to find out, ask specifically how much money are they getting from the public school system and where that money goes. One of the things that parents have come to me for, I just had a meeting with a parent actually whose child was at Woodward or currently at Woodward, and she's about to transition her child back to public school. And that was one of her concerns. And so I think she had she went a couple of rounds with the administration, the financial aid office, to try to figure out why it wasn't coming to the students or taking off their tuition. So that's one of the things that I encourage the parents to ask, because they are getting money from us. In addition, charter schools are giving money, and they're even giving some of our money from penny tax, SPLOST. So they do get that money, and it's it's substantial. Is it millions upon millions? No, but it is taxpayers' money.
Wow, but what we could do with that money if it was in our schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things, and this is the last thing that I'll leave with, we always get a lot of calls about, somebody had just came to me last week and said, the school system has about $1 billion budget, and we do. And one of the things that I tell people is about 60% of our budget goes to staff. We have a lot of staff members, and we're in the budget process right now, and it's very laid out, but 60% of our funds go to staff, and it goes to pensions. So when we look at the other amount that we're given, a lot of things that happen, I'll use it for an example. If I'm at Westlake and I'm in the magnet program, the reason why they're able to have a successful magnet or a successful football team or these programs is because parents have started boosters to start undercut some of that. And so one of the things that I always encourage people to do, the next work session, which is they're all streamed online, so you don't have to leave, please watch those work sessions. Those work sessions happen in North Fulton, where the board meetings happen in South Fulton. And what you'll see is that it takes a lot of money to educate children. For example, we have a program for our students with special needs that is called Linda Mood Bail. So it is a very expensive program for kids who have learning difficulties. We have that for our students who are in special education. If you were to go on the street and go to a Linda Mood Bail center, and there's not even one in South Fulton, there may be one in North Fulton, but I know there's one definitely in Cobb, a couple in Cobb. That program alone for a year is $30,000, and it's an after-school program. And we offer that program for free for our parents. And so one of the things that I ask parents is that really ask those questions, or if you have a question where you're trying to figure out, my child is in school, I don't see them getting this, reach out to your school principal or reach out to me. Because in public school, we get lots of money. It costs a lot to educate children. And what I'm seeing from our principals is that sometimes parents aren't aware of just how much a program costs. And the only reason I know how much it costs is because I have a child with a learning disability. And I remember going to a Linda Mood Bail Center and thinking, who can afford $30,000 on top of everything else? And you would go into those centers, and Evander Holyfield would be there with his kids. And South Fulton County Schools is offering that program. So kids with dyslexia. So parents need to know that so they can ask the right questions and get them put in. And so my community meeting is usually the Monday after the work session. So what I try to do for the first 45 minutes is I also always try to have a panel of students and principals. So we've talked about bullying, we've talked about mentoring. This upcoming one will be at Creekside High School, and it will be talking about student engagement and student voice. And then the last part of my meeting, which is about 45 minutes also, we go into what we covered at the preceding work session. And I do that for parents to be informed, and so them to ask the great questions they need. The program is called Linda Mood Bail. It is a great program. And, when people come to me and say, you guys get $1 billion, why aren't you doing this? We spend so much money, rightfully so, because our educators and our staff deserve to be paid well so we can keep them. But a large part of that goes into that. And then with this ARP money and this ESSER money, and I put the links in the chat, we are also trying to be very intentional in closing the gaps that those kids were out for 18 months. And I want to say that the behavior that we're seeing is behavior all over the country. I had calls from parents who said, who were upset at Westlake. And I have to tell them, and this is not to make it any better, but we've seen issues at Centennial. We've seen issues at Milton. We've seen issues at Roswell. Our kids are struggling emotionally from the effects of COVID. And so what I tell parents is if you look at anything across the country, you'll know this. And so the biggest thing that I tell them, especially coming after spring break, it's getting hot. And we know when kids are out in the summer and, you know, they may be a little daring and do things they know they're not supposed to do. Please check your kids' backpacks. Please check your kids' backpacks every day, even if they're in high school. Check their social media. Who are they texting? What are they doing? Because a lot of the issues we are seeing are things that are happening at home or at night when parents are at work and they just don't have a clue about it. We're all in this together, but we just want to make sure that our kids are making good decisions. Mr. Hudson asks, has there been a survey provided to students to assess why they're concerned? In other words, has there been a root cause in it to study what the students are feeling? Yes, so we are about to launch our student survey. We do it yearly. It's actually going to be students, parents, staff, everybody from the different perspectives, a survey on there. And so we will talk about that.
Great, great presentation.
Yes.
Very good. Are there any other questions for Ms. Warren?
And can I say one more thing? I just want to
Sure.
add this. We get lots of calls about bullying, and bullying is very, very serious. And one of the things, and I said this at when we had the panel with the students, is that sometimes what we call bullying is not bullying. It's harassment, it's intimidation. Bullying is when you have an intent to harm. I'll get a call about a student in first grade who's called another student a name, and the parent will say it's bullying. Of course, it hurts your child's feeling, but that doesn't mean that it's bullying. What I really want parents to know is that I'll get calls from people who'll say, you know, I want the kid suspended, I want them put out, and the kid will be 6 years old. There are better ways to deal with behavior at 6 years old. We pull them in, the counselors speak with them. We have outside services. We have mental health services that come into the schools. And so one of the things that I ask parents is just give a little bit of grace. If you have a child who is having confrontations with another student, and I can speak from this from as a parent who's gone through this, reach out to the school's counselors and the principal and let them know, because what they're going to do is first try to mediate it. The problem becomes is that when parents don't know or the kids don't tell the parents and it lingers, and then a situation that could have been addressed at 1 is now at 20 and no one had a clue about it. And so I just ask parents, you know, our schools are working really, really hard. And I want to caution parents and try to not make the schools the enemy in those situations. If you have had something and you've brought it to everyone's attention and you haven't been able to get a resolve about it, please reach out to me. But please try to work it out at the school level, because at the end of the day, they're still kids. If it escalates and they're in high school, any child who's brought a weapon, we have charged them. They have been given 10 days. They are put out of school. That is a non-negotiable. The problem becomes when they're a 9th grader and they're 14 and they've spent 180 days, that's the length of a school year, outside of school. They've been suspended, they've been charged. By the time they're a junior or senior, they probably can get back into a school. There just will be things in place to help them. But those younger kids, those elementary age students, those middle school students, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we know when kids aren't in school, they're more likely to get in trouble. So I just want to caution parents for that and just understand that, you know, our job is to educate, and we take that wholeheartedly.
Great information. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you guys do after school intramurals? I know when I was going to school, we had intramurals. And also growing up in Pennsylvania, we learned about guns. We had a gun club where you learned how to shoot guns and everything. If you were to show kids how to handle guns and understand them, you wouldn't have that in your schools.
I don't believe that.
Well, it's true. I mean, guns are a way of life in rural Pennsylvania. That's how we eat. That's how we survive up there. But, you know, you teach a kid young how to handle a gun. Their first gun is a BB gun. And then you show them how, I don't want to sound like a part of the NRA, but you have to show them these things. Otherwise, they're just too fascinated with it. Once they learn how to handle a gun, which is part of their Second Amendment, but it's not going to be so thrilling. It's going to more look like a survival thing, or so. But you should have.
Yes,
In
ma'am.
the military academy, they had a state of the art artillery. I can't say it range. It was state of the art. So those kids are learning. Our kids should be learning too.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I want to add this last thing. The South Fulton Police Department has reached out to the schools. They have a program about gun safety that is age appropriate. They have one for elementary, middle, and high school. I can't think of the corporal's name, but I've connected him with the zone superintendents. And this year they are actually going out and meeting with students in an age appropriate way to talk to them about guns. The intramurals, we have them at Sandtown, we have them at Westlake. We don't have them in elementary. Usually what's seen is that the local Parks and Rec usually has those. So we don't offer them there, but we do offer them in middle school. I know at Sandtown and all the middle schools, they had basketball, they had track, they had flag football for girls. The only program they don't have is football. And what usually happens in other parts of the county is that the Parks and Rec runs the program in conjunction with the school system. So I know our Parks and Rec are going through a transformation, but that's usually how it's run in Sandy Springs and Milton and Johns Creek when I speak to them about their programs.
Oh, well, thank you all. And thank you, Ms. Warren, again for that great presentation. It's 8:10, we're a little over, but we want to give our council members, Councilman Roussan, Councilman Gumbs, an opportunity to speak. So with that, Councilman Rowell.
Thank you so much for giving me a couple minutes of your time. We've covered a lot in terms of the city, but a couple updates that I wanted to make people aware of. On this Saturday at 12 o'clock at Welcome All Park, we have our Feed the Hunger program for Easter to provide families in need with food, as well as the Easter egg hunt for the kids. I put the flyer in the chat. You can take a look at that. In addition, on April 23rd, we have 3 events happening in District 1 to coincide with Earth Day. The first one is we'll have a community mural project. I think we're almost at capacity for that. But if you'd like to get involved with another one of the activities, we have our cleanup for the Cascade Commercial Corridor, as well as we have Exciting Day planned at the Camelton Nature Preserve. For those who don't know, we have an 81-acre nature preserve that is being developed behind the new Publix. We encourage you to come out. You can access the park from Plummer Road. And so we have a number of activities planned for April 23rd. We encourage you to come out and get involved. Finally, a number of people have asked about our recycling day, our bulk trash day. That has been set for May 21st. I've also included the flyer in the chat. So those are just a couple quick updates. I'll take a couple questions. I know we're kind of running late tonight. And Councilwoman Gumbs, I don't think she was able to get on. We're doing double duty. Cliftondale had a meeting as well tonight in person. So we're just trying to cover both things.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Councilman Rowell? Councilwoman Rowell, excuse me. Sounds like we got a lot of good things going on in the city.
We do.
Yeah. Well, y'all, thank you, Councilwoman Rowell, for that update. And it's 8:13 now, and I want to thank all of you for joining our meeting. This was a good information meeting with the schools and with the police and with the city and all the projects that are going on. I can't wait to see that artwork go in the roundabout. Looking forward to that. It looks like we got one message in the chat. Okay, our meetings are recorded and they are posted on our website. So if anyone wants to go in and, Stephanie, Hassan, you're out there. Is there anything you want to share as well?
No, not right now.
Okay, I want
Thank you.
Okay, well, with that, everybody, thank you all for joining. Please join us next month. Look on the Facebook page for the agenda and on the website for the agenda, and Harvey also sends it out. We hope between now and next month, we hope you have a wonderful, what is it, Easter is coming. So we hope you have a good Easter holiday and enjoy your family. And with that, we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
All
Debbie.
righty.
Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful meeting.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good meeting. Bye.
Bye.